Hey, it's Chris, your boy. News, roundup, crowdfunding, and the hotness. What do we got going on this past week? I'll tell you right now, the theme of this video, and we're going to cover the Gamefound Feast as well, and my thoughts on some of that stuff. And you know what? Okay, no sarcasm here, right? I actually appreciate that they're covering some of the smaller projects. Thank you. We'll get into, the other side of things later. But what the theme of this video is this is reprint / expansion extravaganza. I am going to be talking about that, and I'm mentioning it actually when I was editing a video earlier tonight, talking about the why you shouldn't back anything currently, that video. And I'm talking about it a little bit more in depth on my You Shouldn't Back Anything Part 2 of June. That's going to come out maybe next week. But realistically, what we're seeing is, and this is the big thing with the hobby, right? People are always surprised, like, I'm surprised that Awakened Realms put out another Marvel United zombie side, or whatever it may be, right? There's more Aeon Trespass Odyssey Saturation. Oh, there's more Aeon's End. Why are they still Dominion still? Folks. It's where the money is. If you have a property that prints you money, why would you not stick with the hand that you've been dealt? Why do you think Simon has all of similar tropes? Why do you think Awakened Realms with Grim Coven, with any of their games, right? They have a type. There's this expansive, open world, fill the hole in your heart style of Ameritrash game with hours and 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 hours of content that you're never going to play, right? Because they know that's where they can bring in the most cash. You don't see a lot of lighter card games because they're going with where the business model has told them to go, rightly or wrongly so, because you don't vote with your head, you vote with your wallet. And so if you're surprised by more people putting out more of the same thing, well, it's because follow the frickin' money trail. So there should be no shock whatsoever. Because again, either it's going to be poorly reviewed, which, again, doesn't, be a detriment as long as it makes money. Sure, you can think of a few games like that. Won't put any names there, not get myself too much trouble here. But again, if it makes money, that's the bottom line. So what are we talking about? I mean, where should we start? Because a lot of it was over with the Gamefound Feast too. But, I was just thinking about this in the Don't Back video, right? Like Grim Coven, that's a type of Gamefounds. Dune, War for Arrakis, with Simon, right? More of that stuff. We covered that last week. Got myself in a little bit of trouble there. Reprints right now. Just announced the Gamefound Feast and a little bit of lurking over on Gamefound as well. You know what I said? Screw it. Let's just pull it up, right? Okay, here's the lowdown. And I'll break these down a little bit individually, and then we'll just give you a little bit overview, right? Heroes of Might and Magic 3 from Archon, the board game, getting more of an expansion. Then we go over to Terrorscape, which, again, they're blinging out the Dice Tower logo right there from the get-go. You're going to get more of it, and you're going to get more of an expansion to go along with it. Harakiri, Blades of Honor, reprint, and Souls of Yomi expansion. To be fair, they've said that, at least with that one, that they're going to wait until people get their games because their games are on the way currently. Above and Below, standalone expansion from Red Raven. Lands of Galzer, expansion. Pest, recently delivered, expansion and second edition. Right? You seeing a theme here, folks? That's not to mention the other ones that I haven't even talked about yet, because Three Sisters, the roll and write heavy one from Motor City Games, is also getting an expansion. That is the literal theme. What's the common thread? Money. So let's go, right? Lands of Galzer, Dreams and Mysteries. Lands of Galzer is an open world adventure game that's sort of more Zen-like, with stories that you're exploring, personal quests, abilities that you're upgrading, and slowly a Zen aesthetic that people just kind of like. It's a very, very nice game for what it is. But it's very open world, not having a definitive endpoint, not necessarily having a great goal if you're one of those goal-oriented gamers. And if you like it, you like it, but it's not going to change your mind. And Dreams and Mysteries here, again, is just going to give you more content, more adventure, more highlights, which is embarrassing. I just forget to fill out my pledge manager for this. Anyway, the new adventure, you're getting new characters, new quests, new abilities, new mystery. So it's an app-driven book of adventures as well. And again, it's just really well thought of. I covered it on the first crowdfunding campaign as a whole, and if you want to see other people's videos talking about it since then, or even, for that in the first place, go check it out there. Their opinions are better than mine, as I always say. So that one is there. Then we have Pest, the second edition, with an area control mechanic, which, again, the Board Game Geek comments are a little divided on this one with the errata, but also, like, you're a plague doctor, but you're, like, building up the city as well. And then there was just a little bit of confusion, I guess, from that side of things. And going down to the comment section, they hear from Arcuna Games, they say rebalanced tech deck, rebalanced agendas, upgraded influence system. So I mean, it sounds like a completely new era board. So that sounds like more than just a little bit of errata. That sounds like a significant upgrade, which again brings the question with a lot of these games with reprints, expansions, second editions, changes from that aspect. Is it ever really starting to be a good thing, being a first early adopter? Because I'd make the argument now, like, early adoption on crowdfunding is actually probably detrimental to your wallet as well as your upgrade system. Because for me personally, I really hate applying upgrade packs. And I'm bad about it, and I hate doing it, and it's kind of a turnoff. So I'm feeling like I should just need to, at least from my own personal bias, just wait until the second time around. Because as, you know, Vassal's rule says, right, if it's good, it'll come again. And that's what we're seeing, only now we're seeing it with fix packs. Fix packs and upgrade packs. I mean, at least they're giving them. I mean, trekking through history, right? We just saw that one. We have Skytear Horde, which we'll talk about in a second too, and then a little bit different way, which is giving you, you know, sort of more stuff. But it's also a second edition, or it's a standalone expansion. How do you feel about those? Again, I kind of like standalone expansions. I kind of don't if there's too much overlap, like Aeon's End. But we'll see. We'll see what it does the second time around. I mean, it's got 2,100 people following it. And how much does Lands of Galzer have, actually, out of curiosity? I'm just curious there. Okay, so 2,800 there from that side of things. And then Onward here, the MOBA board game. And if you're looking at this is actually Skytear. And that's why I was saying it. Whoops, did not actually mean to click on that there. But what they're saying here is this is their MOBA take. This is a new, now they tried to play off of Skytear Horde, but they turned into something else, sort of like how Arcs turned into something else when they were designing Arcs and Oath and that whole conversation that happened there. But this is what they're doing. They're giving you more of a MOBA board game of what they want to do. So probably after filming this, I'm going to reach out to them, even though I still have to do finish my video for Monoliths, because they sent me a copy of that too. And they're doing the campaign for Campaign, which I just covered this past week as well. So Monsters, Jungles, Dragon, Outsider. Oh, okay. Compared, now focus on 2 players there, a little bit longer. Waves of minions. So mandatory deck building, just draft and go. So maybe like a more accessible Guards of Atlantis 2. Okay, I will be reaching out to them after this video. Anyway, then we're going back to Harakiri, Blades of Honor reprint and Souls of Yomi. And they said flat out in the Kickstarter comment section, because I checked this out, because I was like, I don't think this game's been delivered. And it hasn't been, but they're delivering it currently. And they said they're going to wait until everybody gets their copy. So that's why they put out Q4 here for that. You're going to get a little bit of campaign expectations. And again, just people that really like miniature narrative, 2-phase style games of the exploration and then the combat style of things. So 1.5 million euros the first time. That's going to be the question, though. I guess, when we've seen games go like this, sometimes I feel like they will often strike while the iron is hottest, like literally right as people are diving into it, not waiting for people to put out reviews. I mean, high risk, high reward, right? Like if the reviews are really, really tremendous, the second campaign gets balls to the walls, nut busting money. But if the reviews are kind of not always that way, then you're risking waiting and catching people like that. So I don't know. Expansion's free during the Gamefound campaign. How much is it going to be? How much is the, essential tax, as people put, for doing War of Arrakis going to be for the second time around? No idea. They say there's not being a whole lot of rata or upgrade pack with this one, because they said they caught like one card that had been needing some issue. But that's a lot of freaking game content. I would wager that's somewhere along the lines of $300+ worth of content. So again, lifestyle game, lifestyle game, lifestyle game. But this actually has 3,700 people following it. Then we go over to Terrorscape, and I looked at this the first time it came around. It's just not me. Like, I don't do horror. I don't do horror videos. I don't do horror movies. I don't do horror TV shows. It's just not me. And people like it as sort of this one versus all, like, be the killer sort of thing. And it's got a cool, like, diorama-esque vibe going on there. Again, big quotes from big people and a bunch of deluxeifications and storage content and sun dropping, if you will. So new killers, new survivors, and everything that you may want, including a new map. But still $90 for all the new content and $200 plus for all of this stuff. So I guess my only question is, as someone who's not familiar with this, how does this compare to something like Final Girl? I have no idea. I guess, actually, the only easy comment there is Final Girl solo, and this is not. So if you want Final Girl multiplayer, well, there you go. They tell you how to do it. 2 to 4 players, 3 survivors against 1 killer. Setup, rules, objectives are all different. Again, so very similar in that aspect of Final Girl. And your actions are going to be hidden as you go along, trying to escape, grab weapons, grab keys, repair, and, well, do whatever you need to do. Rulebook is right there as well. So, again, kind of everything you need to know there. I don't know. Again, I feel like this is a niche game, and it's doing really good for niche, and niche people like niche things, and I'm one of those people, just different niches. Heroes of Might and Magic 3, the board game, Stronghold, Conflux, and Cove expansions. So 3 expansions. That's aggressive. Archon here with 11,000 people following it, though. And that's a ton. That's an absolute ton. You're going to get a free miniature to go along with it. I don't know. I haven't really heard much about this because I think it's just recently been delivered, 1 to 4 players. I thought it had a weirder player count last time. Like it was 1 to 3, but then the expansion added it up to 4. And the mode differences as you're going between like the overworld and the underworld, sort of like a Harakiri there, even though it's not really overworld, underworld, but you know what I'm saying, like the explorative versus the combat style of things. 3 new factions. Again, I don't have a clue. Collaboration with fan mod there as well. I didn't know fan mod already as well. So 6 languages. Look at all that content. I guarantee you can probably get $500 worth of stuff there. Miniatures galore, new expansions, and new expansions, and new expansions. So 10 models, 13 map tiles, and 70 cards. I don't know. It's not a lot in the box, but again, I guess depends on how it's priced. So highly rated. Campaigns that just cherry pick random Board Game Geek ratings. I just think that's so funny nowadays. I mean, it's cool. It's the same thing as random quotes from random people like me. So it really is just whatever it is. So check out all of the content here. Again, there's probably more so with this stuff than anything else. And this beats some of the other ones that we were just talking about. So if you're any interested in this, go check out these pages. These pages actually have a little bit more surprisingly info than I was expecting. So if they've got this much info, especially with like heroes, I would imagine that it's going to be sooner rather than later, probably in the next month or 2. And then we have Above and Below, the Haunted expansion, but it's a standalone, exploring the watery caves as a 10th anniversary sort of reminder for the original game as a whole. So I have no idea. This was one of those Red Raven games I just never really got into. And again, I'd be open to trying it at some point, but it was never really one of those games I was like, wow, that's really enthralling. And that's just a me own personal bias thing. Buildings become haunted, rolling reputation, banishing, cave types, buildings. I have no idea what any of this means because I don't know how to play the base game as a whole. They're already throwing out stretch goals. So this must be coming sooner rather than later. Stretch goals, and treasure chest box, and a bunch of add-ons. So, right? And look at this game sold 80,000 copies. This has been out for 10 years, right? When we talked about Trekking the World, that just came out with the 2nd edition and it's currently funding on crowdfunding, that did 130,000 in, 4 years. That, folks, comparison-wise, is a good barometric. So, and this is a really well thought of game. So that's why mass market really can make a huge difference, especially if you're a bottom line company, regardless of how appealing you are to niche gamers like myself, not like you, like me. Again, always talking about me, not you. The only other one on here that is not a sequel standalone expansion or something along those lines is Valheim, the board game cooperative 1 to 4 from Mood Publishing. Exploring, defeating the ultimate evil as you carve your path alongside of things. But curiously enough, it has 9,000 people following. So I have to feel like it's directly from the Gamefound Feast where it got a lot of a push there because this is all that's on the page, right? Nothing comparatively to the other ones. And why is that, you ask? Why does Mood Publishing, as the only crowdfunded game on Gamefound that they've done so far, have such 9,000 people following? It's just because they're also the people that put out Deep Rock Galactic, as you can see here, right? So that's what they've got going for them. So they're going for an overlap there, and we'll see kind of how it entails. Is that based off of a video game, though? Well, it's got a video game-based theme when you click over here on the page. Anyway, that's all you need to see from me being down in the corner. Speaking of that, well, we talked about Three Sisters as well, but Horrified is also going to give us a new game from the cooperative Pandemic-esque style with old school monsters, and this is actually the World of Monsters. Completely compatible, though, with the previous 2 editions. So Horrified World of Monsters, you're going to get things like the Yeti and the Sphinx, a little bit of, again, around the world style rather than the localization we've seen with the previous 2 editions. And you can mix match with the other 2 as well as, do one big puzzle or just a mix or smattering of it like a modular sort of way if you want to. So pick up and deliver, point-to-point movement as you're trying to deal with these monsters. How do you feel? Is this going to appeal to you more than the previous editions? Or if you weren't a fan of the other 2, is this probably going to veer far enough? Probably not. Which just reminds me, is Pandemic still doing the yearly thematic ones? Because I feel like it's been a year or 2 since we've seen that. I need to look into that because I really would like a nice, really, really upgraded Pandemic style of things, like along the lines of Iberia or Rome. because we had Star Wars: The Clone Wars, what, like 2-3 years ago now already? It's already been, I feel like. So that just reminded me of that randomly. Squirrel! Flyos, from, you know, the making of Vampires the Masquerade Chapters game, sort of your deck-esque building TCG style, has announced that they are bringing Rayman, yes, the video game, Rayman, to the board game tabletop, set up in a new adventure. Epic race style, though, as you're dodging dangers and saving, well, they call teensies. I am not familiar. No other details known at this point, but we'll see where that goes. On the other news side of things, right, I had to talk about it just very briefly here, at least, if nothing else. Hans im Glück. You probably know where I'm going just by mentioning the name right now. Trademarking Meeple and going after companies like Cogito Ergo Meeple, which did their crowdfunding of like Meeple Inc., which they had to rebrand their name as Tabletop Inc., is trademarked over in Europe. And they're saying, well, we're going to allow people to use it if they ask nicely. Copywriting this term that has sort of become ubiquitous and trans hobby, if you will, outside of it from that aspect of things. And just, you know, if you want to do a media side of things on how to garner bad will or ill will towards you, doing something like that just to go after people for the sake of going after them. And I go, you know, it's, you know, you want to control it. You have to be tightly like Disney and Nintendo do to keep control of your IPs and your copyrights or trademarks and whatever the difference those is, I'm not going to get into. But again, just like really, like, especially now, like this is like 10 plus years in the making. And it's become commonplace, like Google, right? Like it's become more like just a straight up term like that. And so I just freaking don't see the point of doing stuff like that. And it kind of is just a little bit off-putting. That side tangent done. Not going to get into it any further. Not going to comment. I don't have any really other astute findings or thoughts on it, but we'll just put it out there. 3 upcoming huge games this week on crowdfunding that will be very interesting to cover. All are ubiquitously like a type that I was talking about earlier, and all are going to be going head to head, launching really within a couple days of each other. One of them just launching yesterday or the day before, depending on when this video airs, but going up head to head all on Gamefound. You have Hexplore It, the Mountains of Godai, the 5th iteration, I believe. Then you have Blood from Ludus Magnus, and you have Odalin from Dragoi Games. All with significant pedigrees, all with significant funding that they've raised previously, and all with big, miniature, explorative, upgradable, hours upon hours, lifestyle-esque vibes going on. Which one is going to be the biggest of the 3? You know what? It may be Odalin if people are very happy with what Dragoi has put out with Teneris. Blood, though, is a big make it or break it because it's going to be the alternative a la sort of the Primal to Monster Hunter, Blood to Grim Coven. And Godai, I mean, again, it's the Hexplore It. They say it's slightly different, but if you're saturated, I don't really know what the difference is between all of these in the first place. Godai and Hexplore It is going to be launching on the 21st when I did the crowdfunding roundup. So by the time you're viewing this, you'll already have some information on what it looks like and how well it's doing. The other 2 are launching on your typical Tuesdays. And Odalin Dungeons of Doom from Dragoi has almost 16,000 people following it at the time of me talking and filming about this. And it's getting, well, miniatures for free. It's dungeon exploration, campaign unlocking, loot exploring, level upping, everything else that you want from a big narrative dungeon crawl, dark fantasy style game. Again, Dragoi is up there with Simon and Awakened Realms and Ludus in terms of the actual physical representation of these miniatures, and you're getting just everything you want of a rogue, I screw it up, roguelike or roguelike. I mean, you're crafting your dungeon, ever-changing, and delving into them each time differently. Challenges and scenarios, they say, unrevealed as you go along, and decisions are going to have tactically based consequences, but also moral decisions where right and wrong is going to happen in the heat of the battle. So quests are going to be important, demonic alliances that you're going to have advantage of going to, and price coming at a power as I think you actually summon demons as you go along. So again, just absolutely fantastic aesthetic, miniatures galore over on the Gamefound page. It's just, what is the gameplay going to look like and what makes it special? And they've got a little bit on there in terms of the character customization already. The demon and hero attacking with special sleeves, a la sort of your AEG and the Mythic Veils side of things with the Unstoppable latest release. And then a corruption/soul system that you're going to be utilizing based on position and monster as you transform aspects of your demon, well, to either prevent, corrupt, or, well, change the group dynamic as a whole. So demonic transformation as you conform, going back and forth between forms, and then exciting loot system, they say. Exciting loot system. What does that look like? How do you do a dynamic, exciting loot system? Strong emotions because you're drawing stuff from a card. Items are important because they'll determine the dice you will roll, including maybe stat improvements. Okay. Okay, I'm intrigued. It's a big rulebook though. I know that. They sent me it a couple weeks ago, and it's probably like a 45 to 50 plus page rulebook if I'm remembering correctly. So that one is also then going to be going. And then Blood from Ludus Magnus has almost 12,000 people following it as well. And this is a combo-driven card system where you're sort of a Monster Hunter Vlad champion, and this one says 90 minutes, so that maybe makes it a little bit easier table-wise than, say, your comparably Grim Coven. Customizable set of cards, innovative dice combo system that they say, well, as you traverse Vlad's castle trying to ultimately slay Vad, and going at the end of each raid, building epic weapons and learning techniques before this. So maybe like a heavier combo-driven townsfolk tussle. This is actually, truth be told, what I think of more when I was thinking of what Grimhaven is. So we'll see what it actually entails. And again, with Ludus, they're flat out doing what the Grim Coven did as well. They're giving you the standee or the miniature option as well. So that's what we're going to kind of get a good sense of. Again, the aesthetic, just like Grim Coven, just like Dragoi here, absolutely, utterly fantastic. Now, there's less gameplay content or knowledge about what it's going to be doing combo-wise, apart from like this, the generic crafting and infinite build sort of situation that they're giving you. Each fight unique. How is the AI system going to work? So all of those as a rogue light single battle, but also story mode game. So it's going to give you all of those, which again could be good, could be bad, depending on which mode you're actually going to play. Because if you know you're like me, you tend to play one more than the other, even if it's your favorite game. So really interested to see what that one brings to the table. And then obviously last we have is Godai and the Mountains of It, and Hexploring It as you go along with the 5th edition, or the 5th time around. This is a heavy like sort of scenario exploration, huge map, resource management, defending tower defense style elemental siege opponents with this one. Multiple play styles again, sandbox, almost too open at times, dedicating temples, play styles of your choosing of how you want to do it, augmentations with elemental powers in this one that makes it a little bit unique, they say. And if you get all of them, well, you'll have 2 million combinations of things. But that's the main thing I'd be wondering is dynamically, how have you improved on the previous 4 editions? Is this going to be that much better? And if this is that much better, why should I buy any of the others as opposed to just getting this one as a whole? But if they're anything like their previous iterations, they'll be offering most of their back catalog on the crowdfunding page as well in bundles. So you can check that out and spend hundreds of dollars on any of these 3 if you so choose. 2 other quick crowdfunding games of note to surprise your wallets potentially as well. Burgle Bros 3 is supposedly going to be launching as well on the same day. So we're going to see, because there is no Board Game Geek entry yet, but that was at least a response that one of the Facebook ads that I saw from last week announced. So we'll see what comes fruition of that and how it compares and what's going to be new in sort of the a la Nemesis trilogy, Burgle Brothers trilogy, right? Like what's going to be different? If you have one of the other 2, why would you get this one? And then the other one coming from Tangerine Games this week as well, potentially was one of my dark horse picks at the beginning of the month, with Peaks, Mountaineers venturing to climb tall peaks, as the name might suggest, right? And you have action-based system, press your luck, set collection going on, and placing your flags with a tag-along mechanism as you go, even when it's not your turn. So we'll see what Tangerine has in store for us from indie style in addition. So then let's go over to the hotness. What is making its way on the hotness? Well, I mean, at the top of the hotness is Arcs, and Arcs is getting divided, right? You have people already posting on Reddit multiple times that they don't like it, or that it hasn't lived up to expectations, or they just don't, whatever, right? I haven't played my copy. I don't know. I think I'm going to try and bring it on vacation and kind of see how it goes, because maybe I can rope people into playing 2 or 3 games over a short span with me. That'll be easier than trying to separate game nights out repeatedly over time. But that's going to be the big conundrum. And again, the main criticism being, this is what I thought it was going to be, and this is what it actually is. It's just like Oath. It's just like Root. If you went in thinking it was going to be something it's not, that's not on them. That's not a bad game. That's on you for not doing your homework. I hate that when people say that. And that's what some of it has been, to be fair, which I think is going to be very interesting, because again, I think it's going to be a classic shut up and sit down, just like with anybody on my side of things. We all have our own significant biases. And if you listen to any one of us, unless your biases line up completely, you got to be careful about recommendations as a whole. That's all I'll say. Then we have Unstoppable. We covered that on the roundup this past week with Renegade Games Studios' latest release. And again, I went into this probably thinking this was one that I was going to be seriously backing, and now I'm sort of halvesies on it because it's really designed, as they say, flat out on the page in the rulebook that this is a solo game only. And it's got a little bit of a 2-player variant. So I was expecting this to be a little bit more like 2 players, Aeon's End style, like going up against, and it's really just mainly 1. And the 2-player you can do, but it's kind of just like, okay, double everything and do it simultaneously. That's literally one page of the last page of the rulebook that kind of just goes over that very, very briefly. So it's great that it's not like dynamically different at the 1 and 2 player counts, because I hate games that necessarily do that, because you're trying to learn it one way and then you're trying to learn it the other way, and what's the differences and when do I do this and when do I do that. But it also just makes me go, well, you know, it's a great deal, but I'm also, you know, not the biggest solo gamer, so I'm probably just going to pass on it from that side of things. Then Iliad and Ichor, which are trending over on the hotness as well. I covered them earlier this week from Bitewing, as they're going to be launching next week as well. I just, you know, thought I'd throw that in there. Not necessarily in upcoming crowdfunding, but right here too, because otherwise it's going to overlap and you don't want to hear me talk about it twice. But again, great 2-player games. I had it sitting right here actually before. It's actually over there now. But 2-player game where 1 is tiling, 6x6 grid. You lay them out in alternating colors, trying to get the sum of the rows and the columns to be the most, so you get to choose which of the victory resource conditions you can get off of the ends of those columns and rows in the first place to get the set collection to win the game. And then you have Ichor, which is sort of a Santorini-esque vibe where you're moving your asymmetric power-based characters, either gods or monsters, trying to lay down tokens in your wake, sort of like you're sliming the area, if you will, if you know what I'm talking about. And then you can pass over other people's tokens and replace them, and you just have to lay down your most tokens, all of your tokens. Actually, I don't know why I said it that way. I'm not editing that out. All of them down, and you win the game, but you have 6 or 7, depending on the size of the grid of your unique heroes, monsters, abilities, and each of them are one-time use, so you either move or play an ability, and it's going to be a lot of take that, but it's going to be a lot of chaos, but it also can be very quick or slow depending on how analysis paralysis based you are. Skytear Horde. Skytear Horde, well, it's got monoliths, and then it's now got campaigns launched over on Gamefound, and it's getting the clicks from that side of things, because as a solo game, as a 2-player game, as a lane battler style of things, it's very hard, it's difficult, and it is well thought of because it's well constructed in the first place. But again, it's probably not going to be for you unless you fit those 2 counts dynamically, because I would argue, again, it's probably best at solo, just like the other one we were just talking about, right? And then we have City of the Six Moons, which is one of those weird niche games that I believe Hollandspiel is putting out. And they say basically there are no rules, and you create the rules based off of how you're trying to decipher them, and the designer's never going to answer any questions. So people are intrigued by something that inevitably they probably won't like, but they're going to look at it anyway very heavily. So again, just know what you're getting into, and if you know what you're getting into and you're happy with it, go for it. Shikoku 1889 was the shut up and sit down from this past week, where they, again, loved it from an 18xx game. I don't do 18xx's, I don't do trains, I don't do that style of things. Way too much spreadsheet fun for me. So I'm passing along that side as a whole. And then we have just a bunch of the usual suspects still trying to trade for copies of Harmonies, because that's maybe not going to come until maybe July or maybe September. I don't even know when they said the reprint's going to be here. Cities from Devere, I covered that as one of my top games upcoming for retail a couple months ago. Or actually, was that from the Don't Buy It at Retail video this month? That's still maybe yet to air. I can't remember. They all blur together. Captain Flip, one of the Spiel nominees from last week's. A Jest of Robin, the GMT 2-player head-to-head lighter style war game that people are saying is an intro game, which still has like a 30-page rulebook, which I kind of want to trade for it. Kind of would love to teach my wife it. Kind of know it's a pipe dream as a whole. Slay the Spire, as the retail orders start becoming a little bit more available in July. And then 7th Citadel, as things are ending as a whole from that aspect. So that is what is on the hotness right now, and why, and my thoughts and opinions on it as a whole. 'Cause do. Right? Legion Games, baby. I got nothing else. Just got a baseball game this weekend we're going to go to, and local minor league, right? And nothing else. Kids have been like literally doing tennis 4 days this week. They went to the pool 4 days or 5 days this week. And it's because it's freaking 90 here. High, was it mid 90s most of the week. Got into my car, it was almost 100 degrees. So, whew, I'm indoors. So, thankfully air conditioned, so I don't worry about it too much. But man, it's just too much. Other than that, got nothing else going on. It's going to be a great week. Got some stuff coming up this week. I was a little lazy this past week in editing, but I just got a lot of fun stuff coming up this week. The Don't Buy Anything at Retail, the Don't Back Anything Part 2, maybe a look back, maybe a May in review, maybe as a whole, for 6 months in review on crowdfunding, retail news, and, everything along those lines, best played. So we're going to have a little bit of that. Some of that will be this coming week. Some of that will be the following week when I'm on vacation, so I'll space it out accordingly. A review or two as well, hopefully at some point, of 7th Citadel, Skytear Horde, and Distilled. So those ones are going to be coming up on the channel very shortly as well at some point. So that's what I got going on. I need to go schedule me a meeting with some folks to talk about some games. So that's all I got. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day. Thanks for watching. And stay cool out there. Be classy. And have a great day. Have a great day. No asking. Make it a great day. Start it over if it's not. Make it a great day. Peace out.